Hi, everyone. Great crowd. Yes, please clap. Beautiful. We're going to start with intros. And then I have a bunch of questions about how to build communities in crypto and what we can learn from Web2 companies and brands. So we can all go around. I can go first. I'm Jane, and I work at A16Z as an investor, mostly focused on protocols, but ideally protocols that somehow directly touch the end user.
I'm Dolcemaschio. I'm the CMO of Reown. We create toolkits for builders. Prior to my Web3 life, I ran brand marketing at consumer brands like Nike and Sonos. So super excited to be here and talk about culture and community. It's been core to my whole career.
My name is Alex Xu. You might know me as Zagabond. I'm the CEO and founder of Azuki.
Hi, everyone. I'm Reka. Most of my career, I've been a founder and a CMO, mostly in crypto. I've built social media businesses before in Web2, but most recently, I've built Guild XYZ for community management, and I've been advising the top companies in crypto how to build and strategize their communities.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriel. I'm the deputy CEO of ARC. We are a private member club for people in Asia who work, or rather say invest in crypto. I've been around for the last couple of years and based in Singapore, used to be in Bangkok. Always great to be back. Thank you.
So as you guys can see, we have a very credentialed group here from all around the world. So let's get into it. We're going to start today by talking about the intersection of commerce and communities writ large, and then we're going to move on to building communities and culture in Web3 specifically. Over the past 10 years, it seems like every company and brand, regardless of what they're selling, has been more aggressively articulating their values and trying to build communities for their customers. I'm going to do every question popcorn style, so I don't put anyone on the spot. So first one is, what do you think caused this shift from corporates as pure sellers in a marketplace to trying to be builders and dictators of culture?
The internet. I think with Web2, it became all about data and selling stuff, and going to basically getting your customer profiles from Facebook and Google. And I think we're seeing that break down in Web3, where we actually have to rebuild, brands have to rebuild through their audience and actually really get to know their customer all over again. And I think we're seeing the crux of that happen in our industry. And everybody on this panel knows that super well because they're actually community-led versus consumer-led. And now we're trying to figure out the other way. How do we make the consumer feel part of the community?
I can add on to that. I think the lifestyle boom in the 2010s, facilitated by the internet and social media, really tried to build culture, but rather put brands in the existing cultural context where they would be most profitable and most sellable. And I think what we're trying to do now in the 2020s is reverse that a little bit. And especially in crypto, we see that we're trying to build culture first, and that becomes part of the product. You could see this with DAOs becoming a thing, and tokenized communities in general. And yeah, I think that's a really interesting shift.
What to each of you is the strongest example of a corporate community or brand that you've seen out in the wild, and what stands out to you?
Can it be niche?
Oh, totally. It can be completely
One of them
niche.
is Patagonia. I don't know if you guys know. Their tagline is, I think, leave no trace, which is a value alignment tagline. And they've really successfully put themselves into the core of the outdoorsy community to the point where their whole company culture is also built around this. So they have, like more normal companies these days, they have unlimited paid time off, and they actually encourage their company members to be outside. But not only, they really have elements around their culture, in their routines, in their aesthetics, in their habits that they incorporated. And they've been really, really successful at owning that brand. I think they had a trial to branch out of this, but the culture and the community around it was so strong that they just stuck with where they are.
There's a brand I like based out of Seoul. It's called Thug Club. It's a fairly new brand, but the founder was a YouTuber in his previous career. And he's really good at engaging the community. It really reminds me of founder-led marketing when it comes to Web3. And he takes his community to this journey of what it takes to build a successful brand. And a win for Thug Club feels like a win for the community. And they do pop-ups and really just build a brand in a pretty fresh way. So when you asked that question, that brand came up. Yeah.
I think a couple of brands come to mind, one of which I'm not really a participant indirectly. My brother is Rafa, the cycling club. I think that's a very good example of how do you convince a bunch of 50-year-olds to buy a $20,000 bicycle and bring it all over the bloody world in like spandex and tights, which is like double the price of what you buy at Lululemon, right? And like almost every...
That's amazing because that's exactly how I see cycling as a sport.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like, do you even see people cycling in Bangkok? It's like a fucking car crash, right? Like literally. And, people, do it, right? They don't care about anything. And it's like, it's amazing. I thought the Rafa thing would probably die post-COVID because, after that we've got so much to do, but it's actually grown even stronger and everything. I actually know about them because, I actually didn't know it was such a big deal until they came out in this Korean magazine. It's called B, that really covers different brands and does case studies on that. So that's one example that really, really comes to mind. Another one is also a middle-aged example is the guys in Asia who do High Rocks, I think from Australia. So they've got this workout gyms. It's called BFT, Body Fit Training or something. That one's also another one. They've got it's kind of like copying the F45 without all the nuts shouting and everything like that. And basically they do like meets all over the world, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, etc., etc. And I just joined it for fun. But after I realized there's actually a whole community around it, like just trying to get people better at everything. And yeah, it's been going great. These are like two examples when you talk about community and culture.
I'd say for me, right now it's nothing. I think if you're going to disrupt the smartphone space, you have to do something completely different in the way they've kind of traversed fashion, hardware, and being really community-led in terms of how they gave shares to their initial cohort of buyers. It's to me nothing like Mischief, which is born just out of internet and meme culture, and bringing that into hype culture. I think it's really those are the two for me right now.
I have one more, and it's really showing how brand affiliation can help another brand grow and reposition themselves. What I want to talk about is Namelia. They are a Berlin-based, leathery, darky, very authentic, very Gen Z, young millennial club culture fashion brand. And they have done really, really well for themselves in that type of community. And what we can see is they are strategically super open to being associated with more traditional celebrities that are trying to rebrand to appeal towards this demographic, the more queer, alternative, young party culture with Brad Summer and everything going on. Specifically with Namelia, they have had a collaboration with Kylie Jenner when she just launched her new fashion brand. It went tragically, but she tried to tap into through brand association to this market, and it went, the clothes people didn't love, but it was actually a good shot. And now Katy Perry is doing something similar where she is trying to make a comeback, reposition herself as a much more youthful, much more authentic, dark-haired again, and being trying to be a pop princess again. And the way to that is through this community. And Namelia has been very open to supporting this journey. And it's really, really interesting to see how you can pay yourself into being affiliated with a culture. So that might be worth for debate later.
One thing that we see every cycle is traditional brands trying to come into crypto. What do you think the best, most obvious type of partnership is between a crypto product or brand and a large traditional brand? And are there any examples that have worked really well historically?
None. Okay, one. I mean, do you even call that successful? I don't know. I'm not from that part of the world. But when Tiff and Co did the thing with punks,
that was pretty successful.
That was kind of successful as a one-off. Other than that, I don't know. I shouldn't say this.
That one was cool because Alex is a punk holder, right? So he's kind of part of both communities.
Yeah, but it's kind of also I don't know, profit extraction. It's not really.
But it feels like a valuable luxury good that is exclusive that they're giving only to those holders. Yeah. So it felt pretty authentic.
But it's kind of like access to the holders, but you still have to pay a ton of money to to get it, right?
And it didn't like grow the community at all, which is
it
usually
didn't,
the point
right?
of these
it
things.
didn't, right? I mean, I believe a handful of them probably pawned it to buy Bitcoin or something after that, or maybe an Azuki. But like, I don't know. Like, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know. Like every single brand I know, and like even at the capacity of ARC, there's so many Web2 brands who come to us, and they want to work with us, but it's just value extraction. I've got everything. Just a random example. I had Steinway call me and Elroy about selling pianos because JJ is a founder, right? And I like who the hell plays a piano above 15 nowadays? So like, I don't know. I really don't know the answer to this question. Maybe you guys have. I'd be very keen to hear.
I'm curious what you think, because you've probably gotten approached by everyone about this.
Yeah, we've done a few. We've done one with this Japanese fashion brand called Ambush, and that's run by Verbal and Yoon, and they're pretty active in Web3, right? So I think we were able to introduce a new technology called the physical back token into.
Oh yeah, you guys did something with
apparel.
Mahomes as well. Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes had a. So a lot of times when these celebrities or companies want to do something with us, it's because they also have an initiative that they want to grow their community for. So I think, but that one worked out well because, like, for our community, we get to support, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and they get something. And then the Museum of Mahomes community, which is his kind of trading card collectible thing that he was launching, they get some Azuki support as well. So I think that worked pretty well. We also did a partnership with Red Bull Racing in 2022 for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Got the Azuki on the car. And I think it just makes our community feel proud, right? And somehow we ended up with all these winners, right? Mahomes, Red Bulls, and that makes our community feel good. So yeah, I think it's got to be like a win-win. But yeah, those are kind of rare to find.
I know one more. You guys are all over crypto Twitter every single day, right? Like me. And you all use Uniswap, I assume, like most of us. They just did a partnership with Kid Super Studios. Not crypto at all. Honestly, I'm into fashion. I have not went along the lines of knowing Kid Super Studios before. It's just not my niche. But because of this, it became one. And I know they worked many months on making that partnership real. And mostly within New York, they had many, many activations together with this fashion brand. I know it's partially because they have personal relationships with them, but the thing is that they align themselves with this style specifically and with the type of person who would buy Kid Super Studios. And I think the launch went super well. It was super well fitting towards what we think Uniswap's culture and vibe and aesthetics already are. I think an honorable mention to talk more about use cases is POAP has been working many years, even though we don't use it anymore in events these days, but they've been working many years in like more corporate BD to onboard luxury brands into more on the side of authenticity proving, because a lot of luxury goods already, they have NFC chips in them so you can check authenticity. And so to incorporate NFTs into it, and POAP has been working a lot on that. So I think it's worth mentioning them and shouting them out.
Yeah, I think POAP and IYK have both done a really good job with that. Okay, we are running out of time a little bit, so let's move on to talk about crypto communities. Do you each ascribe to the idea that every successful community needs to be led by a messiah or originated by a messiah figure? Or do you think grassroots communities of evangelists can be just as successful? So basically wondering like how much a unified, centralized vision matters from the beginning, or if DAOs can be effective here to drive cultures that have longevity.
I mean, FWB, baby. Friends with Benefits community has been around since 2020, maybe even earlier, but it really picked up in 2020. There's not one central messiah. We all know the founders. There's like really core partakers in it, but it really is a decentralized culture hub.
Could you argue, though, that Trevor was the original person? You think it's really like
when
20
I got
people
into
came
it, I
together?
didn't even know Trevor.
Yeah.
I knew Rehan after a while.
That's a really powerful example then.
Yes. But yes, they're both, and most of them also, like more people who've been really core to FWB initially have been huge in shaping it and being the leaders and the realigning the culture that they've created. It was super elemental, but there wasn't like one religion leader. If you look at the layer one ecosystems, what they're doing right now more is all of them, if you talk with them more privately, they will say that we're building a cult or a religion. And it's much more apparent that they do use one central figure and they create what you really need for culture. And it isn't just community. Community is a huge part of it, but they create the aesthetics, the habits. Even Celestia has lazy Sundays when they like post together. Monad has gym pictures every time they go lifting, especially for squats. Also, Movement Chain has their founder Rushi is also like always talking about the gym. They are building their culture around the one central figure, and it's done really, really well for them because it's easy to identify and easier to set the tone of the community and build culture around it. I don't know about the longevity though. Like that's very risky in my opinion because you asked about the longevity of how long this can last, and I've been also face of a company before, and it's been really hard to transition from that because it's a liability on that one person. I think for while you're establishing the community to have its organic strength, it's really powerful and to create that super aligned culture. But after that, it kind of has to decentralize a little bit, otherwise it won't survive.
What do you guys think? One individual leader or DAO approach?
I think it kind of boils down to the idea. I think like the core of it is still like branding, identity. When I look at FWB, they have this just amazing identity that attracts you if you're into certain things, and I think that's kind of something that often gets forgotten about in our space, like consistency, ideas, like sticking to that central idea, branding, design. Like these are really important things that what built the brands that we all love and kind of are referencing. And yeah, I think that's a key part of it to me.
So my take is that if it depends on what kind of company or project you're talking about. If it's more like a community, friend base or a club, then I don't think that's necessary. Like the culture, you develop it collectively. But if you wanted to pump, I think that one person, you either need the one person or you need a MERT, right? So get yourself a MERT, but that's very hard too, right? So, but that's ideal, right? Is it critical? I think it's very hard without, but that's kind of what I've observed.
No, I just agree. I mean, I think everybody's got quite valid points. It really depends on the type of community which you're building. And also culturally, where is the starting point of where you're building as well. I think FWB works because culturally it's a US first thing, right? If you were to try to start it from the ground up again and do it in Singapore, where I'm based, I would put my head out there and say it's probably not going to work, right? Like democracy is one of the most overrated things in Southeast Asia. And we need the high proud. It's just that we all naturally gravitate to a leader, whether is it to get direction, whether is it to get inspiration, leadership, whatever. I mean, you look at some of the more successful communities, even in Thailand. Those of you who actually live here, you've definitely heard of Pimu running Whale Ground. That's a very good example of a very Web 2, a little bit Web 3 community that's very led by someone who's had a lot of success in the Web 2 space prior to Web 3. And a lot of people gravitate towards him because there's that certain trust factor, right? And now they're getting, they're not say their hands dirty, but getting exposed to, I think, various opportunities in the crypto space they probably would not have gotten if they had started as a collective together as well. That's personally what I think. I think here in Asia, it's very much gravitating towards a certain individual. But I do agree with Reka. Then the question is, how do you transition from that individual, and who's a little bit immortalized in a way, and to something like, who's the next person, that goes on and goes on, and who carries on the mandate and everything like that. I think that's a challenge.
Makes sense. We have a couple questions left. So last long form, and then we're going to move to rapid fire. So I wonder, things get messier when money's involved, definitely. I wonder what role you guys think incentives play in long-term versus short-term retention of community members. Like, so you've built a community, you have a culture, then, you have to do an airdrop if you're building a protocol. I feel like often it's hard to sort through which users are there for incentives or trying to be long-term users of the product. How do you guys view that strategy, like getting money involved without making the culture change significantly?
I think it's really hard because we're so early and we're like all trying these new tactics. But I think the incentives, I'm worried that we're trying to gamify everything right now and we're just going to burn people out because just send them on these kind of rat race tasks. And it's hard to tell right now because I think we're trying a lot of different things collectively in like Web3 marketing, but I think I don't know if we can gamify every single thing or incentivize every single thing and keep people. I feel like you're just gonna run out and have to come up with a new thing to do. It's hard to say.
So the Azuki community, we have NFTs so far. We don't have a fungible token yet. The way I look at it is that the token incentives should really amplify the culture that you're creating as a brand and community, and it shouldn't be the only reason why people are there. Because the moment they get it and they're out, right? So, specifically for us, we really care about anime as an art form. We're growing the IP by creating authentic Japanese anime, and we also have grown a community of artists that are doing commission art within our community. Some have even made it their full-time jobs just to do commission art for Azuki holders. That's how kind of powerful, having a value like this for a community could be. And so I think we always try to keep that value true to our brand as we continue to grow. And I think without that, and people are just here for an airdrop, I think that's not, there's no longevity there. So you got to think about like what the long-term vision is and what your values are. I think a lot of people, when they join a community, it's not just for the money. I think a lot of people just want to be recognized for the contribution, and you can do that in many different ways. It could be as simple as the team sending them like a little swag box saying like, hey, thanks for what you do. It could be sending them a message. It could be posting their art on your website, whatever it may be. And I think you'll be surprised at how much of an impact something like that can be.
Actually, one good example is you yourself retweeting some of the things your members post, or when somebody buys a Azuki.
Yeah, like
I think
some sort of recognition.
That first step is like always
money.
something I recognize. Like even before we first met, that was one of the first things I noticed about you doing. It's 2 seconds to click a button, right? But people really appreciate it. So kudos to that.
I think it's what you just said too. It's like values over incentives. Like the values are what become the incentives versus the incentives leading the way.
Kind of like the balance between intangibles and tangibles. Yeah.
Okay, rapid fire, since I think we're over time. Looking into the future, if you had to name one brand, it can't be the brand of anyone on this panel, that will be pervasive and break into the mainstream in the next 2 years, that is a crypto company or brand. One word from each of you.
One brand in crypto, any brand, that will break mainstream.
Break into.
QCP Capital. They just got their Abu Dhabi license. They just got a Singapore license. They're doing a lot of cool shit.
Wait. One word.
Okay, one word. Bye. Sorry.
Everyone else.
I think Zora has a good chance. Mm-hmm. They already do.
Phantom.
I was going to say Phantom as well.
Okay. And then, is there a dominant or relatively dominant crypto brand in the space that you think will die over the next 2 years? We have to end with a hot take.
Die in the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Like maybe someone got ahead of themselves, did an airdrop token too quickly. I don't know.
Or maybe not a brand, but I think in the next 2 years, a very household significant protocol, layer 1, layer 2, layer 3, will close down. They'll just run out of money, or they'll just say, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore.
I'm way too mid-curve wholesome for this. I'm not going to say anything.
I feel like communities, like, they don't truly die in Web3. There's always, like, I was looking up Loot Project the other day, and there's still a community doing stuff with Loot. So, that's a hard question.
Nobody wants to put their head on the line.
I mean, probably something SocialFi related. There's just too much of it. Like it's too early to.
Friend tech.
No, SocialFi can't die. SocialFi can't die if it doesn't even have traction in the first place. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna wrap up with that. Thank you, guys.
Pleats is a culture. If you're not realized, I just fucking realized.
Matching.
Yeah, we're all matching this thing. I think Steve, come on, man. Like Jane, come on, right? Like you didn't get the memo. Didn't read the messages.
Get with the culture.
Thank you, everyone.